Do 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 do. Do I have to really bring a giant pile of lenses out here? It would take me like an hour to find all of them. Of course, I've proven in over 5,500 videos that I not only have all these lenses, I've got multiple copies. So this is my pick, and I can proudly say that I've owned and tested more NIKKOR lenses. There's, well, more than so than anybody on YouTube. There's probably, well, even some of the old dudes that work for Nikon, I doubt they've even tested this many NIKKOR lenses. Anyway, pick for my favorite, i.e. best, modern, keyword being modern, NIKKOR primes. One of these is still not a modern one, but I wanted to include it anyway. So these are the best modern NIKKOR primes. Best output, best tonality, best for countless reasons. Even though some of them are D-series lenses and not fast autofocusing. Because generally speaking, we're not worried about fast autofocus when it pertains to portraiture or landscape. You know, generally speaking, you go like, yeah, stand over there, there you go. So don't have issues. A lot of people have actually chirped at me in the past. Oh, that's an old screwdriver lens. It's not fast. Like, what are you going to be using this? This is a portraiture lens. Aren't you going to be using this for portraiture? Like, yeah, I am. It's like, so what's the matter? You have a problem with your subjects like running around or something like that? Now, I do know that some people actually do portraiture with like people dancing and they want to catch them in midair, so I understand that, but I'm talking about conventional portraiture, so I do understand about people moving for subject photography. But anyway, I digress, as I usually do, and which everybody accuses me of. So favorite, starting from the bottom to the top, the 10.5 millimeter NIKKOR fisheye. It's also use that with an adapter on Fujifilm. Nikon has crucified the fisheye market and wide-angle primes better than anybody. Nobody comes close. I've got plenty of Zeiss lenses. Zeiss does not. Even Voigtlander does not. And of course, many of the Voigtlander lenses are made right in the Cosina Voigtlander factory there. Nikon has the wide-angle primes, and especially the fisheyes. They've nailed it, and nobody does it better than Nikon does. 16 millimeter fisheye 2.8. There's 4 versions of that 16 millimeter. I own all of them. The modern one they're all incredible, but the modern one is really incredible. 16 millimeter 2.8 fisheye. 10.5 millimeter fisheye, as I said. The 20 millimeter 1.8 G NIKKOR, absolutely incredible, with low coma for astrophotography, for landscape, for architecture. Incredible lens. Everybody should buy a copy of it. My favorite lens I could probably glue on my Nikon D4 forever is the 24 millimeter f. There's 2 versions of this. They're both awesome. I have both. 24 millimeter 1.4 G NIKKOR and the 24 millimeter 1.8 G NIKKOR. Is the 1.4 really worth it? I've got my copies used. New, it's absolutely not worth it to buy the 1.4 G, even though it is an incredible lens. Best value for certain is the 24 millimeter 1.8 G. Next, it's been around for a long time, is the 35 millimeter f2 D series screwdrive NIKKOR. That's a screwdrive old D series lens. Incredible tonality, absolutely amazing lens. 35 millimeter. It's also very tiny, and you can get it really cheap used from Japan. Next is the 58 millimeter 1.4 G NIKKOR. Unfortunately, this lens is pretty damn expensive. It's very lightweight and very compact. The front element is deep recessed inside of the lip of the edge of the lens. It's the 58 millimeter 1.4. Perfect for DX portraiture. The lens is it's awesome. It is, however, really damn overpriced, and it's hard to find a used copy. Next is a Swiss Army knife lens. It's an FX lens. Recommend it to all DX owner of cameras, but also too for mini FX. It's not obviously the most ideal for macro since it's kind of short, but the one do-it-all lens is a 60 millimeter 2.8 D series autofocus macro NIKKOR. It's great for DX for portraiture. It's great for macro reproduction. It's great for everything. Tonality, it's an old series lens, a screwdrive lens. They still make it for a reason, because you can't improve upon perfection, and the lens is perfection. Next, they don't make this anymore, even though it's not a modern lens. I wanted to include it. It's the 85mm 1.4 D series NIKKOR. That's a portrait lens. It's a screw drive lens. Next is the 85mm 1.8 G. That's a modern lens. Next, there's a pair of them. The 100mm f2 DC NIKKOR, my favorite portrait lens of all time, period. Tonality, incredible, ultra low element count, absolutely an incredible portrait lens. For black and white portraiture, nothing is going to beat it. Actually, there's a couple things that'll beat it, but you'll have to spend $10,000 on a Leica Summicron or Summilux. Actually, another thing that beats it is that $1,000 new 50mm f 1.2 Voigtlander, which only recently came out. Very expensive lens. Anyway, 100mm f2 DC NIKKOR. Next is its partner, the 135mm f2 DC NIKKOR. Next is the lens that everybody should own. Just shut up and buy it, because there's tons and tons of used copies out there for $300. It's $1,000 new, but they've been making it forever. It's the most incredible portrait and do-it-all lens. Not do it all, but do a lot. The 180mm, 180mm 2.8 D series NIKKOR. My God, that lens is, like I said, $1,000 new. The single best tonality, micro contrast, incredible. Oh, jeez. Since you get used copies for $300, wow, damn. Next is the 200mm f4 macro NIKKOR. Incredible lens. I keep talking about stopping to make it, but it's not as good as the best macro lens ever made, which is right over here. This 80mm sitting right beside me. Anyway, it's the 200mm f4 macro NIKKOR. Used copies, and this is a ultra high quality metal and glass lens made in Japan. It's a pinnacle quality production lens. Nothing is finer made. Even fine is made as the best as ice you've ever had your hands on. Next is, and every iteration of this is incredible. I own 4 different copies of this of various generations. Perfect for portraiture, perfect for, God, everything, just about. Big and heavy, 300mm 2.8. The best one to get's a VR1. The VR2 is just a lot of money for nothing much more. 300mm D series autofocus, slow autofocus, same incredible output. The AFS version is really heavy. I have that also. The 300mm 2.8 NIKKOR is unsurpassed effing perfection. Next is the 600mm f4 Titanic monstrous beast. I know they're going to come out with a new Fresnel version of that. I'm talking about f4, okay, not 5.6, f4. Huge. Yeah, that big. One thing I should have included back around the 300mm mark is the 300mm, still a current production lens, 300mm f4 AFS NIKKOR. Yep, 300mm f4 AFS. There's a lot of different versions over the years of the f4 300mm. Talking about the AFS version with a silent wave motor in it. So that's it. That's my pick for the best favorite modern NIKKOR lenses that are made. I own all of these lenses, if not multiple copies. And I got 6 copies of the 180mm. Don't ask me why I own 6 copies of it, because every time I find one really cheap, I buy it. Kind of like an investment, because that lens is never going to go down in value. Not for what I paid for them. Anyway, thank you so much for watching. I hope you like these videos. If you do, you can always click the link below. You tell me how much you hate me, but I don't sell anything and I don't have any affiliate links. So whatever I recommend, you know, I don't make a dime off of it. Additionally, I've used and tested more lenses than the top 50 YouTube photography channels combined. That's not an exaggeration. That's a fact. Undeniably so. I like giving helpful use. I remember once at a camera store, a guy said, yeah, so. I was like, yeah, no, that lens is not that good. He said, that's just your opinion. I was like, yeah, you know what, you're right, but you know what also? Said some opinions are worth a lot more than others are. He kind of went like this, he snapped his eyeballs, and it's like, yeah, you heard me. Some opinions are worth a lot more than others. You know, maybe you tried thousands of lenses and you own hundreds and hundreds and hundreds. So who do you really think my opinion is? You know, my position on that lens is invalid, you know? Because people always hate it when you talk shit about stuff that they own. It's like calling a child ugly. It's like, look at my little child. It's like, oh, your baby is really ugly and his nose is crooked. Like, they get pissed. It's like, I'm talking about your camera lenses here, you know? I get offended, you know. There's a guy that met me at the camera store recently, and he had a Nikon D4, and he had a lens on it. Yeah, I don't know why you don't like this lens. I got it. I like this lens. I was like, yeah, that's the lens, all right. I don't understand why you don't like this lens of mine. I love it a lot. And then my answer would be, compared to what? You know? See, he'd get offended like I was talking about his child. It's like it's just a piece of glass and metal. The lens you got on that Nikon D4 sucks! I said it sucks. I meant it. And the reason why I said it is because we ultimately have to get down to compared to what? And yes, that lens sucks. I've written it down because it sucks. It's poor value. And I forgot to mention to him that it's got 2 plastic aspherical elements in it. You see, aspherical elements are really expensive to produce, and Nikon thought, ha 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 ha! We're going to save a lot of money instead of making this shit out of glass, which is really time-consuming and expensive. What we're going to do is we're going to use molded polymer, polycarbonate technically. And Nikon saved themselves a lot of time and a lot of money by using plastic on those hard-to-produce aspherical elements, which are in that lens that I said was a piece of shit, because it is a piece of shit. But I digress. Once again, I digress. Happy New Year. Peace out, Girl Scout.